Have you ever felt like you're on a treadmill, running faster and faster, but you're not actually getting anywhere? Well, that's the reality for so many people in Taiwan. The economy is supposedly booming, yet millions of people are working harder than ever just to stay afloat. So today, we're going to unpack this paradox. Why isn't hard work enough anymore?
You know, this quote from a Taiwanese legislator just cuts right to the heart of it. It's such a stark statement, right? It captures this feeling that something is deeply wrong. How can there be so much wealth in the country, yet so many families are struggling financially?
All right, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll look at the paradox itself. Then, we'll introduce a really useful framework for understanding what's going on. After that, we'll dive into the real-world costs, uncover the hidden systemic issues, and finally, explore some potential ways out of this mess.
To really get a handle on what's happening in Taiwan, we're going to use the lens from a fantastic book, the Pulitzer Prize winner, The Working Poor by David Shipler. His work is amazing because it helps us see that this isn't just about a few people having bad luck. No, it's about the system itself.
We're all taught this story, right? If you just work hard, you'll be successful. You'll get ahead. But what happens when that promise feels broken? The tough reality is that for so many, they're doing exactly that, hard, honest work, but the system feels less like a ladder and more like a trap.
So how exactly does this trap work? Shipler gives us three really important concepts to help us see it clearly. Think of these as the keys to understanding this invisible web that has so many working families tangled up.
Okay, the first key is this big idea, structural poverty. This changes everything. It means poverty isn't just about individual mistakes or bad luck. It's actually an outcome baked into the way our economic and social systems are designed. It's not about the player, it's about the game itself being tilted.
The second key is what he calls interlocking problems. See, it's never just one thing. It's a whole tangled mess. A low-wage job means you can only afford a rundown apartment. That apartment might make your kids sick. Getting sick means you lose income, which makes your housing situation even more stressful. Every problem makes the others worse.
And this third key, honestly, it might be the most frustrating one. It's called institutional invisibility. This means the very systems we create to help people are often blind to the people who are working but still poor. They fall through the cracks, not because we don't have the money to help, but because there's no political will to really see them.
So that's the theory. Now let's bring it right back home. How does this web of interlocking problems actually show up in Taiwan? We're going to zoom in on the three biggest costs that are absolutely crushing family budgets.
In Taiwan, the trap is basically sprung by three huge, relentless pressures: the cost of housing, the cost of childcare, and the cost of healthcare. Each one is a battle on its own, but together, they create a situation that's nearly impossible for low-wage workers to escape. Let's start with housing. In the big cities, it's totally normal for families to spend more than 30% of their entire income just on rent. Think about that. Almost a third of your paycheck is just gone. Vanished before you can even think about saving or education or a small emergency. It puts an immediate cap on what's possible for your family.
Then there's childcare. There just aren't enough affordable public options. So families are stuck with this impossible choice. Either you shell out a huge chunk of a second salary for private care, or one parent, and let's be honest, it's usually the mom, has to quit their job. Either way, the family's ability to earn money takes a massive hit.
And finally, healthcare. Now, Taiwan's universal health insurance is a great thing, no doubt. But for the working poor, the real killer isn't the doctor's bill, it's the income interruption. If you're an hourly worker with no paid sick days, getting the flu for a week doesn't just make you feel awful. It could mean you can't make rent. That's the hidden cost that can knock you off your feet.
So these costs are crushing. The big question is, why? In a wealthy society, why do these problems just keep getting worse? Let's zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture, the institutional choices that let this trap just keep on working.
And this is where it all just clicks into place. Shipler's framework isn't just theory. It maps perfectly onto Taiwan's reality. Structural poverty? That's the rise of contract work with no benefits and wages that haven't gone anywhere. The low-wage trap? That's what you call it when the minimum wage goes up a tiny bit, but rent goes up a lot. You can see how each concept has a direct, real-world counterpart here. Now, if you need one chart to explain the why, this is it. The numbers here are just staggering.
Taiwan spends about 11 to 17% of its GDP on social support. The average for other developed nations? 44%. It's not even close. This isn't about not having the money, it's a clear choice about where to invest it.
This kind of thinking is what leads to the critique that the government treats saving money as a virtue. But when you're saving money by not investing in things like public housing or affordable childcare, you're not really saving anything. You're just pushing those costs directly onto the backs of working families.
Okay, looking at all these deep structural problems can feel pretty overwhelming. But here's the important part. If the problems are structural, then the solutions have to be structural too. This framework doesn't just tell us what's wrong, it also points us toward how to fix it. So let's talk about a path forward.
The solutions have to be as connected as the problems are. It really comes down to a three-part approach. First, you have to strengthen wages, tying the minimum wage to what it actually costs to live. Second, you gotta boost investment in the exact areas that create the trap: public childcare and social housing. And third, you have to redesign the social safety net so it actually catches the people who are working their tails off but still falling behind. It's about making the invisible visible.
And really, this all boils down to one fundamental question. How do we measure the health of our society? Is it just about GDP numbers and a booming stock market? Or is it measured by how well we make sure that a hard day's work actually provides a decent life for everyone? The answer to that question is what will define the future for millions.